Oh my gosh, what a terrible dream. Where am I? Oh no, it wasn't a dream. It was real. I'm in Ohio. A real life nightmare. If you spent any time in Ohio as a visitor, you may have been impressed. By what, I'm not sure. And from what I hear, many Ohio residents have some amount of state pride. I mean, they could live in West Virginia, so it's not the worst place in the country. And believe it or not, there's people that are thinking about moving to Ohio. So we're going to talk about the places they don't want to live in this state if they do that. Ohio people know them by heart, and they can rattle them off pretty quickly. Most of these places won't be a huge shock for Ohioans. All we're going to do is rank them in order. For our worst places in Ohio ranking, we're going to be fair and use statistics. Stuff like crime and poverty, and other measuring sticks like the quality of schools and home prices. In the end, we're going to have the undisputed loser as the worst place to live in Ohio. And as we'll see, a lot of it has to do with drugs and the decline of auto jobs. Let's begin, shall we? There's a lot of corn in Ohio, and beans and oats. The farmers here know how to make dough. There's a lot of things that they grow. So we're at the airport. Why are we at the airport? Because Ohio is where one of the Wright brothers lived. So there's a lot of history here. So we're going to take an airplane to each of our worst cities in Ohio. It'll be fun, everyone. Up, up, and away. Our first stop is Middletown. Now, Middletown used to be a nice place to live and grow up until the 80s, and then things started going downhill. Good paying jobs left or shut down. Armco Steel sold out to Japan and became AK Steel, and then Cleveland Cliffs took over. A lot of funding's been cut, and then Section 8 housing started to infiltrate Middletown. Drugs are out of control. They closed down their public schools and stopped doing a lot of community things like the 4th of July festival, fireworks. Today, they're tearing down historical buildings at an alarming rate, taking away what many people remember about Middletown growing up. It's like they're erasing what many consider the pride of Middletown. The city lost its identity and is definitely not the place it used to be by a long shot. Crime-wise, it's not the worst place you could live. It ranks 24th worst in the state, so it could be worse. But drugs and shootings continue to make this a place that needs some TLC, pal. God, we got out of there without getting hurt, but it wasn't pretty. Sadly, we come to an even worse place to live in Ohio, Springfield. Tucked away out in Clark County, about halfway between Dayton and Columbus, Springfield has very little in terms of jobs, and a quarter of the population lives in poverty, for starters. Springfield also ranks as the state's 7th most dangerous place. This city of 60,000 people saw 2 burglaries a day on average, which is the 2nd most in the state. A lot of that has to do with drugs. Ohio, as a state, has the 2nd highest drug overdose rate of all states, and Clark County ranks 3rd for drug overdoses. Springfield has seen its ODs double over the last 5 years, one reason why they say it's part of the Ohio Heroin Highway. Now, new programs and approaches have helped blunt the overdose curve. For one, they're better at keeping people alive, but access to drug treatment and prevention programs seems to be helping. However, as it stands, there are many people in Springfield who can't pass a drug test and therefore can't work, which will continue to drive the poverty levels up. It's sad that the prettiest and nicest place in their community is the cemetery, but that's the way things are in Springfield. And sadly, the cemetery is a busy place these days. Coming in for a landing in Chillicothe. We built this city. We built this city and now it sucks. People in Warren are like, I thought we were bad. Chillicothe takes the cake for shady druggies who linger at gas stations and liquor stores. The poverty level is high and the spirits are low. And the lingering smell from the paper plant is defeating. Again, due to the high levels of drug addiction, crime is bad here. There's only one other place in Ohio where there are more drug-related robberies and crimes than Chillicothe. Every year, a resident here has a 1 in 13 chance of being robbed. Ross County ranks 3rd in the state for number of overdoses per capita. Are we seeing a pattern here already? Not surprising, considering this town is at the base of the Appalachian Mountains. The paper mill in town is the county's 4th largest employer, but they keep laying more and more people off. The hospital in town puts quite a few people to work, and there are a few other manufacturing plants here, but after that, it's pretty much a government job. Now they're working on revitalizing the downtown area, and that's improved, so that's great. Good job, Chillicothe. Now they need to work on keeping the drug addicted from loitering downtown so people will actually want to go down there. I mean, this was the original capital of Ohio a long time ago. Pippi Longstocking. Ah, that was uplifting. But our next stop, Toledo, is not. A quarter of this city's 275,000 people lives in poverty. Per capita, Toledo has between double and triple the number of assaults, rapes, and burglaries than other cities on this list. Abandoned and dilapidated houses means there's drug dens around every corner. The schools are terrible and overcrowded. Toledo Public Schools just scored an F, according to the Ohio Department of Education. The roads are notoriously bad. Some say Toledo's becoming Detroit South. But at least there's a museum and a zoo here. And by zoo, I don't mean East or South Toledo, which are filled with gangs and drug activity. The kind of place where you might have a tumbleweave sighting on any corner on any day. Look at all the payday loan places in town here in Toledo. My God, if that's not a sign of drugs and poverty. And the places charge an astounding 591%. That's the most expensive rate in the country. Let's say the average Toledoite wanted to get a payday loan cash advance for, say, $200. After the 2-week payback period, you'd owe about $45 on top of that. But if you didn't pay it back for a month, you'd owe about half the money back you borrowed. So instead of paying them back $200 after a month, you'd pay them back $300 a month. No wonder the poor can't get ahead in Ohio. Dun 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 dun, Wonder Woman! Coming in for a landing we are. Hopefully Wonder Woman has her magic lasso thing with her, because she's going to need it. We're in the town of Mansfield. This city of 46,000 people lies along I-71, about halfway between Columbus and Cleveland. Mansfield's so bad they've written books about this place. I mean, if you're worse than Lorraine, that's saying something. But this is home to the abandoned Ohio State Reformatory Prison, which is where they filmed Shawshank Redemption, so that's fabulous. Hey, look at that, Mappy's flying the plane. How do you do that? Fly a plane when you're staring at us? That doesn't look safe. Where's our next worst place to land, Mappy?
We're going to Ashtabula, Nick.
Ashtabula. People in Akron are like, haha, you're worse than us. Kinda. Sorta. Ashtabula is located on the banks of beautiful, not really, Lake Erie, way up here in Ashtabula County. The median income per capita is about $17,000 a year. A whopping 35% of the population lives below the poverty level. Part of that's because only about 1 in 10 people here has completed college. Now, back in the day, you could have a good job in Ohio and not have to go to college. But today, without college, it's likely going to be a fast food job, a dollar store job, or a cell phone outlet job. Drugs are rampant here, which is why homes here cost about $70,000, which is totally crazy for a place that sits on the water like this. But when there's trash all over the beach, who wants to visit it? Locals complain that there's nothing to do here except hang out at Walmart or Steak and Shake. That's a big reason the kids are getting hooked on drugs here, because they're bored, people. I mean, they're losing 1% of the population every single year here.
Did you know Ohio State's head coach is from here?
Yeah, and so is Danica Dillon. Ow! This is your captain speaking. Looks like we're coming in for a landing in Lima, Ohio, otherwise known as Slima, Ohio. That's mean. Captain had to say it like that. Crime is out of control in Lima. This is the 9th most dangerous place in the state. And Lima has the 2nd highest number of rapes in Ohio and a ton of arsons. Like, Cleveland is 10 times bigger, and it only had double the amount of arsons that little Lima had. What's the deal? Why are they burning everything down in Lima? The school system here is in shambles. Lima has all new school buildings, but they are ranked among the lowest in Ohio. There are hundreds of unoccupied houses used as drug houses and flop houses for homeless people. I mean, look at this list of homes that needs to be demolished right now. And hardly a week goes by that one of these dumps mysteriously burns down. And when you have to drive an hour to Fort Wayne for something to do, that's just sad, folks. But they do have a Chuck E. Cheese here in Lima. That's cool. I guess we're taking a paper airplane to our next city. Portsmouth has become well known for its overall malaise. This is the 5th poorest place in the state of Ohio, where nearly 40% of the city's 20,000 residents lives in poverty, and where the average income is just under $30,000. The number of people out of work is more than twice the nation's average. It's a filthy city, where houses are in decay, and the number one industry is illicit drugs, and that is so sad, Portsmouth. In fact, Scioto County ranks first for OD deaths in the entire state. They used to have all sorts of manufacturing jobs here, but of course, like other cities we've talked about, that's no longer. 85 of the top 100 auto suppliers are now in foreign lands. And while some of the nuts and bolt manufacturers have remained, a lot of the advanced technology is being developed overseas. And in case you haven't noticed, cars are relying on technology more and more. Now, there is talk from major auto manufacturers who have promised to open up battery factories and electric car plants throughout Ohio, companies like GM and Lordstown Motors. Hopefully, the unions here can keep folks employed here, but it's a tough life relying on car manufacturing jobs in this state. The pay is double what you'd get for a job, even with a college degree, but then you're always one announcement away from being out of work or having your pension taken away. Or, for many fathers and husbands, they just pack up and chase another auto job in another state and hardly see their families at all. And that has a way of making these struggling communities even harder to bear. Oh, we're in the future. Youngstown's in the past, though. This is the second poorest place in the state, and people make even less here than they do in Portsmouth. Youngstown pretty much well died in the 70s when the steel mills shut down, but it was their own fault. The steel companies didn't want to comply with EPA standards and install new equipment to lower their emissions. And despite the steel mills boning out, a lot of people never left this valley way out here in Mahoning County along the Pennsylvania state line. And after 40 years of economic freefall, the best they can hope for here is completely closing off or demolishing the abandoned residential neighborhoods like Oak Hill and Lower Gibson. Mill Creek Park is nice here, and they have Youngstown State to cheer for, which has never won the Missouri Valley Conference basketball title. But at least they have a ton of Handel's ice cream to take away their sorrows. Dayton's the second worst place you can live in the state of Ohio. This is the third most violent place in the state, and the place with the second highest number of murders. Dayton also ranks 5th highest for burglaries and 5th highest for rapes. 2 cars are stolen here every single day. For a city of 140,000 people, that's a lot. West Dayton's horrible, and East Dayton is death. This wasn't always a bad place. There were big companies here to make good money with, like NCR and General Motors and Standard Register, Meade, Frigidaire, Panasonic, and even the railroads. But today, so many homes are boarded up and buildings have been knocked down. Once the jobs are gone, the city starts to die. Most of the burglaries and prostitution and cat thefts here are all directly tied to the heroin fentanyl problem. Although apparently, the city has improved its drug treatment program, so that's good. On a side note, when a tornado passed through town in 2019, the community got all Dayton strong about it. They came together and helped pitch in, instead of looting, for the most part. Oh, we're taking a helicopter to the worst city. So fancy, we rich. Of course, the worst place you can live in Ohio is in East Cleveland. The state's lowest incomes, highest poverty rate, and highest unemployment rate are here. On a positive note, East Cleveland is only the 39th most dangerous city in Ohio of the 232 places measured. There used to be 40,000 people here. Now it's barely 16,000. East Cleveland tried really hard to get Cleveland to annex them, but Cleveland wouldn't buy it. They're smarter than that. EC started out as a wealthy suburb. Even J.D. Rockefeller had a mansion here. In the 20s through 50s, it was poor but clean and a mix of mostly Irish, Italian, and Jewish families. But in the mid-60s, the national phenomenon of white flight hit East Cleveland. By the 70s, it was unrecognizable. Now there's tons of abandoned homes here. A lot of people live in public housing or in shady apartments on government subsidies. Community leaders need to rally people because they need financial, emotional, spiritual, and mental assistance. But at least they don't live in Warrensville Heights. Okay, so there we go. Those are the worst places you could live in Ohio. Of course, we could have mentioned a lot of other places, like Elyria and Canton and Coshocton and Ironton and even Cincinnati, but we promised we were just only going to do 10. And sadly, a lot of these places are bad and struggling because of drugs and because of technology. You know, companies have moved on and taken jobs away and left people without work or having to leave the area to find work. How are ways that these cities can change? Well, getting people off drugs would be a big deal. That would really help. And if you're thinking about moving to Ohio, these are places you want to avoid. And if you live in any of these places, then sadly you have a lot of work to do to improve your communities. And here's a good song. We need to save Ohio. It was once a great place, now it's such a disgrace. What the hell, Ohio? You are not alone, alone, alone. Chillicothe, these meth heads, Dayton's all falling down. Mansfield needs a bulldozer, East Cleveland's on crack. Youngstown can't get a job, Middletown's no more a town. Springfield can't say no to blow, and Portsmouth is whack. Come on, Ohio, you can do it. You guys just need to turn some stuff around and keep going. We believe in you. We're right behind you. We got your back, Ohio. Hey guys, if you learned something new about America or what it's like to live in America, great. you should think about subscribing and turning on your notifications. You can also click one of these videos or playlists for more. You can also now buy my songs on iTunes and other formats. Click the link in the description. Thanks for watching. And remember, while we all might have different views, we should all be nice to each other and try to make the U.S. a better place in a positive way.
This is Sage, Nick's manager. This has been a Corner House Entertainment production.